Black Legion.
Welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be cutting the beautiful gathers gown you saw on the thumbnail. In my previous video we drafted out the pattern and we're going to be cutting using this fabric. So I've gone ahead to cut my pattern, transfer my pattern on my fabric, and I have my hairstay here, my lining. So I'm going to be adding the hairstay to my lining for all the pieces. Okay, so I'm just going to be adding hairstay to only the lining, not the fabric. Okay, so now this is what my pattern looks like. This is my front pattern with the lining and the hairstay. I'm going to iron the hairstay to the lining. So you can see I cut my front piece on fold. Is on fold. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Let me open it up for you. This is what it looks like. It's on fold. So I have my actual fabric and lining pieces here. So you can see with the pattern, I gave 1 inch sewing allowance on the side, half an inch at the bottom, half an inch on the armhole. Okay, so and half an inch on the shoulder. So there's no stitching allowance at the center of the fabric. So now I went in by 1.5 inches for my zip allowance. So this is what it is. It's just the back. The difference with between the back is just the zipper allowance, the neckline, and every other thing is the same. Okay, so this is just the upper piece, that is the back piece, and the front piece. So I'm going to stitch my dart. Remember, on our pattern we drafted, we indicated our dart. So I'm going to go ahead and iron my hairstay to my lining pieces. Then I'm going to go ahead to sew in the darts when I'm done. The same thing I'm doing for the back piece, or the front piece is what I'm doing for the back piece. All right, so now this is the lower part of the dress. So you can see on the curve section of this, you can see I gave 0.5 stitching allowance, 0.5 inch stitching allowance. On the waist region I gave 0.5 stitching allowance. On the side I gave 1 inch stitching allowance. So make sure that the number of or the inches you're giving for your stitching allowance on the upper side is the same as the lower side. On my upper side I gave 1 inch stitching allowance, and on the lower side I gave 1 inch stitching allowance on the side. Okay, I have my back piece with my lining pieces, the hairstay. So I've gone ahead to arrange this. Okay, so this is what I have. This is the back piece. This is the back piece. You can see the neckline. You can see the sides. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch on the neckline, on the sides, then I'm going to come back and show you, and also at the center part. Okay, let me keep this aside. So this is the front piece of the lower part. So I'm going to stitch like this by 0.5 inch, like this. So the only place I'm not going to be stitching down is the waist, because that is where we're going to turn this over. Okay, so this is how it should look like. So now this is the back piece for the lower piece. So I'm going to stitch here, 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 and again I'm not going to stitch the waist region. I'm going to stitch by 0.5 inch. Okay, So this is my front piece. I've gone ahead to stitch it, and also I stitch my dart. You can see my dart, you can see how neat it looks. So you can go ahead and iron after stitching. So now this is the lower part, the front piece of the lower part. You can see I also did my sew in my dart. So now what you're going to do now is to place the dart against each other, right side facing each other, then pin this down, secure it with a pin. Do the same for this other part. You can see how I'm placing my dart. First of all, secure the dart, make sure that they align, then secure it with a pin. Okay, so now I'm going to stitch by 0.5 inch stitching allowance, and this is what it's going to look like when by the time I'm done. Okay, I'm going to do the same for the back piece. Let me set this aside. Now this is the back piece. I have two pieces, remember, because of the zipper region. So I'm taking one piece and aligning it to the other piece. So just as I did for the front, I also sew in the darts. I'm going to place the dart against each other, right sides facing each other, then secure it with a pin. Then stitch by 0.5 inch because that is the allowance we gave. Then this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to do the same for the other part. So now after stitching, this is what I have. This is the back piece. I've gone ahead to secure, join the two pieces, the back piece, the upper part and the lower part. So this is what it looks like. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead to measure the length of zip I want. This is the zip I'm going to be using. I'm using a matching zip. I tried to use this blue color. So now I'm going to measure how you would need a long zip for this, because the waist is going to be fitted. You need something that you can easily put on. Okay, so I'm going to come here and mark where I want the zip to stop. And this is where I've decided for the zip to stop. Remember, we gave 1.5 inches for our zip. So I'm going to mark it on my zip tool to serve as a guide. Then I'll set this aside. Then I'm supposed to mark this on my front piece, on the wrong side of this. So now this place I'm marking here, let me transfer it here. So this place I'm marking now, let me turn it so you can get what I'm doing. Okay, so this place now, I'm going to stitch by that 1.5 stitching allowance I gave, or zipper allowance I gave for the zip. Now I'm going to stitch from this point here. Let me pin it down all the way to this end. Then I will attach the zipper to the back piece, then join the shoulders. Okay, so this is what I have. There are different ways to join your shoulders. So this is one way. Now I'm going to use a fabric. You can choose to skip this part. I'm going to use a fabric to line the armhole. So I'm going to use a yellow color for this, then join the sides. So after joining the sides, this is what I have. You can see the yellow fabric on the armhole. So now it's time to add our gathers. So this is the zip. You can see how it looks. Let me turn it. Let me turn the right side so you can see what it looks like. You can see our gown is coming out nicely. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and zip this. So this is what I have. You can go ahead and iron this. So this is what the back looks like. Okay, this is what the back looks like. So this is the yellow fabric at the armhole. You can see how nice it is. It just adds an additional look to the dress. Okay, so now it's time to focus on these curves that we have here. So for that, I'm going to be making use of this fabric. Now I have this yellow fabric, which is a doll face. I have a matching net to go with it. It's important you get matching colors so that you have this perfect or seamless finishing at the end of the day. So I'm going to be using this net for that gathers we saw on the thumbnail. Now your net has two sides. Okay, so you see this part here. I'm going to join them together. You see this part, you see this open part. I'm going to join them together like this, then arrange it properly. So we have one side that is open, and we're not going to be using that part because remember you're going to be doing that gathers, sewing that gathers around your skirt. So I'm using the longer part of this net piece. So now see what I'm going to be doing here. Okay, we are going to be sewing using gathers method. So the reason why I joined these two pieces together is to have that fullness. So see what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be using the gathers method for this. This is what it's going to be like. You keep stitching like this, forming that your gathers. So basically what I used for this was 10 yards of net. You can choose to use more if you want more volume. Okay, I'm going to be using this, my doll face, as a lining for the net, because if you don't do this, your cloth is going to be transparent and you wouldn't want that. So basically what I'm just doing is I'm going to place this. You see that joining we have at the waist, that's where I'm going to place this fabric on. So make sure it's long enough to cover that curves, that opening we made on the dress. So I'm going to stitch, then make few pleats as I'm stitching along the line. Not too many, just few pleats. I'm going to stitch like that. So now when you get to the sides, like for me, I skip the sides because I'm going to use my hand sewing needle to secure that part, to stitch that part down. So when you get to the zipper part of your dress, please do not stitch and cover your zip part of the dress. Okay, make room for the zip so that when you're opening the zip, like when you're trying to put the cloth on, you can still easily put it on. Okay, so I'm going to skip the sides like you see me doing, then continue stitching until you're done with it. So then after this, we can go ahead and join our net. All right, so now I've gone ahead to join the major part of this net behind camera. So I did that behind the camera. So now let me show you in case you did not understand when I explained earlier. So just make sure you pleat as you sew, pleat as you sew. That's just it. And believe me, this is going to take your time. So enjoy the process. All right. So I'm going to stitch and stitch and stitch. So now by the time you're done stitching, make sure that where you stop should not be on the exact place where your joining stops. So make sure you pleat even on top of the previous net a little, not too much, but let it be a little, so that there won't be any form of opening on your dress. People cannot see where you join the dress or the net. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So now one thing I noticed while making this dress is you have to go for a soft net, maybe not too soft, but in between, for it to give you that nice for the net to lay down well, because I iron this net severally. It's like the more I iron, the more it just rises. So but anyway, it came out beautiful. I hope yours turns out like this. Please like, share, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload new videos. Thank you for watching. Until next time, bye.